Hello and good evening, everyone. I'm Christelle Barker with Eastridge. This is Josh Sammons. I'd like to take a moment and thank you for your time in coming out on this cold evening. We're going to start off kind of going over a little bit of Office 365 and really what it is, and kind of discuss the different levels, how everyone uses it. Can everyone hear me okay? No? Do I need to yell a little louder? Here, I'll just bring it closer to me. How's that? Better? Okay. It sounds very loud to me. Okay. Thank you. All right. All right. We're also going to go over the interface, maybe a little bit of demonstration, and discuss how we can use it better to be a little more proactive, and go over some resources as well. I'm going to let Josh tell you a little bit about himself, and I'll tell you about myself. Kind of follow along. Is that working? What can I hit?
All right, sorry guys, we had a little technology issue. We had to switch laptops at the last minute. We didn't have our, it wasn't presenting the VGA through my machine, so it's the reason why we got little border around here for the, to show the browser window. But this is a perfect example of Office 365 here in action, because this laptop does not have Microsoft Office on it. We're running everything out of the browser, so pulling that from my account. Again, my name is Josh Sammons. I work for Eastridge. I've been with Eastridge for about 3 years now, specializing in Office 365 migrations and small, medium business managed services. We've done quite a few Office 365 migrations. We like to think we're the best at it. So, you know, we've seen a lot of stuff. We like to think we've seen it all, but you know, occasionally you'll run into something new. So, a different, unique situation. So, you know, that's kind of where I am and who I am. So I'll let Christelle give her official introduction.
Excuse me, I need to grab a little water. I'm a certified MEC trainer. I work mainly with managed service clients. I come in and I show you how to use your technology the very best way possible. Okay, so how is it after implementing Office 365, can you get the most out of your technology? I focus on SMB, and after implementation, I want to carry it further. So carrying in with your applications, how can we take it to the very next level?
Sorry, I forgot to advance your slide. All right, I just want to give you guys a little bit of information about Eastridge. We are a company out of Winston-Salem. We were founded in 1998. We've done, Eastridge primarily started as a application development company. Merged with another company called Simple Network Solutions about 4 years ago, and that's where the SMB practice really came from, was from the SNS side. So, you know, we've been Gold Partner since 2001. We just renewed our competencies in October. I think we have either 3 or 4 Gold competencies, varying from, you know, application development side all the way down to SMB, Office 365, and cloud. One of the things that we like to say, I know Chris Oakman, who is our managing partner for Eastridge, he is actually the one that was supposed to originally do this engagement, and he has been called to Redmond to do some more stuff with Microsoft. Any of you guys seen the Office 365 videos that are posted on the Microsoft Virtual Academy? Anybody seen those? Yeah, so Chris Oakman has made those videos. So he's made now 3 sets of videos. So, you know, Eastridge is right out there with those guys doing these virtual academies. Got an email today. One of them is actually expiring, and they want him to do a new set of videos. And for the duration that the videos were out there since 2013, those videos were the highest rated and highest viewed Office videos on the Microsoft Virtual Academy. They had 50,000 unique user views. So I think that was pretty good. I really I'm proud to be a part of that because we have put a lot of work and a lot of time into that platform. A little bit more about Eastridge. Some of the stuff that we do, we carry. We have more than just the SMB practice and Office 365 migrations. We have a full SharePoint custom application development team. That's really kind of where Eastridge kind of built itself up, was with application development. We've got a full cloud practice. We do stuff with a lot of companies, both with my SMB group and with our advanced infrastructure group on Office 365, Windows, Azure, Azure services. So we do have a lot of stuff going to the cloud. We have full CRM, dynamic CRM practice. And what was the last one there? Our advanced infrastructure team. So we do have a lot of offerings there. So that's kind of Eastridge in a nutshell. One of the things that I wanted to talk about with you guys before we kind of move on is I really want this presentation to be as interactive as possible. I want you guys to ask questions. It's definitely not one of those things where I want you to hold your question to the end. If we go over something you guys have questions about, please feel free to ask. We will try to address your question, and if we don't know the answer, we can find it. So we want this to be, I don't want to be death by PowerPoint. I want to definitely get you guys to interact with us as much as you can. Ask questions. We love questions because the questions, somebody else is asking the same question. So just wanted to kind of say that, and we'll keep rolling. There you go.
Okay. Office 365. Who here, can anyone tell, excuse me, by raising your hand, who here uses Office 365? So, about 20%, I guess. Is that about fair? Okay. Office 365 is a subscription-based platform. Okay, and it ranges from small business to enterprise application services. Okay. It's optimized for all devices. You can use it from on your iPad to your desktop platforms, okay? What you see on your mobile devices is exactly what you're going to see on your desktop services. Sorry. Can you hear me better? Okay. All right. Office 365 also is mobile, so whereas as you travel between your mobile devices, what you see and you're working on from one device, you're also going to see on your next device as far as your Word, Excel, mobile dictionaries. What's important to you? Okay. Can you tell me what is important to you as far as Office 365? I believe we chatted you're an Office 365 user. Okay. 2013 user, SharePoint. Okay. What is it that you like about SharePoint? Fantastic. Collaboration is a phenomenal tool within Office 365. Okay. How many people use or collaborate within their businesses? Everybody. Who doesn't communicate or collaborate within their organization? So working with teams and collaborating is an amazing tool. SharePoint is an offering within Office 365. You can create document libraries and applications that use these features.
Hey guys, one of the things we're going to do, we're going to kind of give you guys a demo. We're not going to try not to kill you guys with demos. We want to try to show you some high points of of some of the things that we think are some important features. Another quick question. Show of hands, how many of you guys are IT consulting companies or business owners, and you're looking to move your company to Office 365 or become an Office 365 implementer? Anybody out there? Anybody not willing to make the change to Office 365? One thing, I did want to clarify one other quick thing. I was speaking to a gentleman earlier, and I do apologize, I don't remember his name. But we were talking about Office 365, and I asked the question, well, do you use Office 365? And he said yes. So Microsoft has done a wonderful job of confusing everybody about Office 365. There's a couple of different things. When we talk about Office 365 and when we reference Office 365, we're going to be talking about the online services of Office 365. This gentleman was talking to me about he bought a 5-user license of Office 365. That's purchased online or whatever. That's what we're referring to the desktop applications, Word, Excel, Access, PowerPoint, those things like that. I'm going to refer to those as Office 2013, Outlook 2013, because the actual box, that's what it will say, even though it is still considered Office 365. Microsoft has done a good job with that with some of their other utilities inside the suite that kind of leave things a little bit more confusing for us. So one of the things that I think is the most important feature of Office 365, kind of to go along with what Christelle said, is the ability to share and collaborate documents. We'll show you guys in a few minutes where if I have a document that's in a library, I can say, Christelle, here's this document. I need you to go work on it. She can open that up, and she can open it up in her desktop Word. Let's say it's a Word document. She can open it up in Word. I can open it up in Word. And Microsoft has done a great job of actually putting it where you can collaborate on the same document at the same time. So there will be a field locked, and it'll show Christelle's name where she's editing at right now. And as that document updates and saves, it will save it back to the SharePoint side and then render it to me on my side. If you're both using the Office web application, for example, and this is a PowerPoint web application here. I don't have PowerPoint installed, like I mentioned a minute ago. But Christelle and myself could be working on this PowerPoint at the exact same time, and it would show us that we're both connected, that we're both accessing, and the areas that we would be accessing in would be locked. So that's one of the best SharePoint features that I think that really exists with Office 365. SharePoint's the collaboration piece, and that's just the way to kind of get around it. Email. How many of you guys still use? How many of you guys use a hosted email service now? Anybody use small business servers now? Not many small business servers. All right. Everybody's familiar with what Microsoft Exchange can do for you, right? Everybody's aware of Exchange and know what you can get. One of the best things about Office 365 that I think is great is the ability to get all those features. Exchange. I can get full version Exchange. I can get all the features of Exchange for as little as $4 a month, which I think is an amazing deal. Anybody out here installed an Exchange server recently? Anybody put one in? Depending on the size of the company, whatever you're going with, it could be very expensive to your customers. And $4 is a great value for that. Especially when you look at it with some of the higher plans for Office 365, you get full version of SharePoint, you get a full version of Exchange, you get a full version of Microsoft Link. You can even get full Office 2013 Professional Plus for $20 a month for all inclusive. I mean, you're looking at those utilities. If you were to install those for one of your clients, I mean, you're looking at $40,000 or $50,000 worth of equipment and licensing to be able to get that suite that you can provide to your clients for $20 a month. I think Microsoft has done a really amazing job at kind of putting that out there. It's definitely, we run numbers for clients, and say, hey, we've got 100 users. We need to decide if we want to go stay on premise with all the licensing and CALs that are required, or if we're going to go to the cloud. And every time we've done that comparison, it's always cheaper to go to the cloud if you look at a 3-year return. So That's email alone, if you just look at the email piece. So that's kind of a few things that I think are amazing features and the best things about Office 365. So these are a few objectives for Office 365. These are just some things that kind of another reiteration of some things that you can do or what Office 365 can provide for you. Obviously, your collaboration, can contribute shared content, run effective meetings. Has anybody used the product Microsoft Link? Link is another one that's going to save you some money. How many of you guys use Citrix GoToMeeting or another product that does your meetings? So that's all included in Link. Link is not only, some people think it's only an instant messaging. It is more than instant messaging. It will instant message. It will do meetings. Don't hold me to this. It used to be limited to 250 users per meeting, but that may have gone up. That's another thing that's great about the Microsoft platform is that they are constantly changing and upping the resources and the features in Office 365, and they're not upping the price. If anything, they're bringing the price down. One of the things is, SharePoint space was, I can't remember what it was a couple years ago, but now it's like 10 cents a gig, which is pretty unbelievable for space. Excuse me, I'm sorry. Hang on one second. But if you're paying for the product of Office 365 in one of the enterprise plans, you already got that Link, that Microsoft Link product that allows you to do those things. It allows you to do screen shares. It allows you to do bring in multiple people. It can bring in people on existing meetings. You can whiteboard. You can do all the things that your Citrix GoToMeeting can do. It can completely replace that. So that's definitely a good thing. Maximize productivity. Yes, sir. Does it support sharing from a web-based client?
You do a desktop share if connect through Office 365.
Yes, you can.
Yes.
And you also do not have to have the Link client to join a Link meeting. It will join through the browser just like with GoToMeeting. It'll download a little applet, and it will actually join you to that meeting. From that web applet, for example, if you didn't have Link and I had a Link meeting, I could have a Link meeting and I could say, let's just make you a presenter. And you could then present from that web client to that meeting where everybody in the Link meeting could view your desktop and you only have the browser and the applet installed. Yes, sir. I'm not going to say that it has to be Internet Explorer. Mm-hmm. I do know that most of the stuff for the Microsoft environment does work best in Internet Explorer. Anybody else have any other questions about that? All right.
Can you start a demo on that? Can you start a demo on that?
Yeah. Christelle's going to fire up. I think I got it open right there on the bottom. Christelle's going to open up our demo here. We have a demo tenant that we can kind of show you guys some of the differences. And please forgive our screen. It's a little out of whack here because of the VGA connection. So we'll try to make this as best we can. So if any of you guys that have used Office 365, this is your standard login screen. So whenever I log into Office 365, this is what I see. The good thing that Microsoft has done, they've started adding so many features that the bar across the top that had everything in it was getting too much. So they come up with this tiled screen, kind of like the Windows 8 stuff. And as you see here, if I want to go into any of my options of Outlook, my calendar, people, Yammer, OneDrive, so on and so forth, you have those options to actually delve in from right here and be able to see all your stuff. So this is a good place. Now there's about 6 or 8 different URLs for this. So this is just one of them. If you see right here, the version that this demo tenant has on it is a trial version, but it has access to the Office, the full installer for Outlook 2013. You see right here where it says Install Office on your PC? You simply click there. It starts to download. Depending on your internet connection, it is a click to run, so it doesn't download a full installer. It downloads a little applet, then it runs the installer in the background, and downloads the most frequently used features first. So that's where you would install. The other good thing about Office 365, if you look at the E3, the E3 is the enterprise level that offers Office. It also gives you 5 installations of Microsoft Office. How much does 5 installations of Microsoft Office cost if you go out and buy it? Yeah, and that's probably not even the Professional Plus, right? That's probably just regular business. So you're looking at a pretty hefty price tag there. You can add and drop these off of devices. Once you get Office installed, you actually go to a location. It shows you all the devices that you have Microsoft Office installed on. You can put them on your iPad. You can put them on tablets, PCs. They actually have a version for Mac now that they released. That they do have a full version for Mac. So you can put these on your Mac as well. There is not a full download available. Now, there's some ways that we've kind of found to get around that a little bit, but it's not technically licensed properly unless you download it from the click to run. I'm sorry? It can. Typically we try not to have users hit it all at one time, obviously. But if you do a full install or you have somebody that has decent internet, you're looking at maybe 10 minutes, 15 minutes to install, do a full install with the Office product. It does have access. Yes, it does. So what you would have to do in this example, there's not access online. These that you see here, the Word Online, Excel Online, those are all inside the browser. But there's not an access online. But if you do the full E3 and you do the download of the software, it downloads access as part of that. Okay. Yeah, the question this gentleman had here is they're a academic institution, and he's asking if the product is the same. The product is very similar on the front side. Where I'm talking about an E3 license, that's an enterprise class. They have A class license for academic. It's just different pricing. The product is pretty much the same thing. We're not certified for academic, so I can't give you any true, real specifics on the differences. But yeah, absolutely. There's plenty of stuff documented on Microsoft to be able to see those academic licenses. Yes, sir.
So with the click to download, say you need to download the most popular
The question was, so when you do the click to run to download the actual installer, does it actually install the stuff that my organization uses, or is it the stuff that's just general features? And the answer to that is it's just general features. For example, if you have advanced scripting or something like that, you have some advanced scripts that you want in your Microsoft Office to have. It's not going to download those out of the gate. It's going to download the basics for the actual application itself. And as your computer sits there, it will continue to pull the rest of it down. But it does it quicker. It gives it to you in like 10 minutes, so you can actually use the application. As you use it, the things will finish downloading, and it will continue to work fine. So Visio and Project are pretty easy because they're also subscription based as well. You can actually go I'm not sure if this demo tenant will actually have it, but for example, don't quote me on the price. I actually don't remember what it is. Maybe I'm not sure. I'd have to look it up. If you want to grab me after this, we'll pull it up. But essentially, if you want to add Project or Visio, you go in here, you add a couple licenses, the number that you need. It puts it on the credit card that you have. You have instant access to that, and to be able to download it and run it. So that's local copies. Yes, sir. So same deal. I'm not 100% sure on the 5 installs for that, but I think that same thing applies. Yep, no problem. Did I get everybody's question answered? Anybody else have anything? Yes, sir. Okay, the question is what will your calendar sync with? If you have, what are compatible devices? Essentially, everything that your calendar will sync with is Exchange will sync with anything that's Active Sync capable. And I think we've seen everything that we've seen has Exchange Active Sync capable devices. We've seen iPads, Blackberries, obviously any of the Microsoft products are all Exchange and Active Sync capable. I'm not sure about iCal. I'm not a Mac guy, but I know that it will work with anything that's Exchange Active Sync capable. Okay? Anybody else have any other questions? All right, Christelle, let's go ahead and look at, just go ahead and click on Outlook there. So this is the application most everybody uses. Anybody here not use email? Please don't raise your hand. That was a test. If you can figure out how not to use email, I want to come work with you. So anyway, if you guys see here, now keep in mind you're at the distorted screen. Yes, sir.
Some of the kids don't use email or use Instagram.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Yeah, some people do use the social media instead of email now. But for your Outlook, does anybody use an Outlook 2013 now? How close is this in comparison? Do you can figure this out? It looks almost identical to the full version of Outlook 2013. You have all the same features. One of the things that Microsoft is also doing with the Office 365 product is they are releasing stuff to online before they release it on premise. So you're going to see new features in Outlook if you're using Office 365 before you see them on your Office 365 or Outlook 2013 on your desktop. I'm sorry? Anyway, all right. So the same thing with all the server products, and that's another great thing about the server products. Exchange, SharePoint, Link, all those guys, you don't ever have to worry about updating them or keeping them up to date. And the same thing with the full installation of Office that comes with Office 365. You do not have to update it. Microsoft keeps it up to date for you. You don't have to run updates on your Exchange server and take time down. Everything runs directly from on Microsoft. They keep everything up to date. They have made announcements that officially they are releasing features to the online suite prior to releasing them in the Office on the on-premise products, I should say. So this is pretty much basic Outlook. There's not really a whole lot of smoke and mirrors here, but it is I really like it. Used to when you had Exchange, you'd have a completely different experience with the web version than you would the local install. Yes, sir.
Other than through Exchange or having an Outlook account, can you use it for third-party email applications, Gmail or Yahoo or something like that?
The online version?
Either.
I'm not sure about the online version. I know that you can do things called connected accounts, which essentially will go through and pull your. I'm sorry. The question was, can you use it with other accounts, Gmail, Yahoo? Can you connect those accounts? And they do have a connected accounts option. I'm not 100% sure that it's in the cloud, but I know that it's on the full the local installation. You can pull that in. I'm not 100% sure. I can look at that. Okay. Sure. Absolutely. Yeah. Yes, sir.
What about spam and malware in email? In the corporate environment, most of us have appliances or installable helpers or antivirus that look at this attachments, try to prevent users from doing, I wouldn't say anything stupid, but something more than stupid.
Right.
And if this is all web, how do we get that kind of protection?
All right, so that's another thing that you, at your corporate level, you can do away with, okay? Because Office 365 uses Exchange Online Protection, which is used to be called Forefront. You guys familiar with Forefront? It's no longer Forefront. It's called Exchange Online Protection. Essentially, what it gives you is there's some magic you can make on the back end for the administrator, but there's a few things you can do for your end users. Click back on Outlook real quick. I'm not sure if this is going to have it in here. But essentially what you have is the way that we have it configured for us is that we have everything dumped into a junk mail folder that's in your under your inbox. And what we have is we have a default retention policy on that says after 5 days, let's go ahead and dump everything out of that junk mail folder. Does that have one there? Yeah. So junk email, everything that comes in. So that's the one good thing that I really like about that is that you have your users have the ability to see their stuff. It's not quarantining it and holding it where you have to release it as administrator. Don't get me wrong. If you want that functionality, that is a functionality also within Office 365. If you don't want it delivered to their inbox, to the junk mail folder, you can have it quarantined. It'll hold that message. They have to log into a web-based Exchange Online Protection to be able to release that message. Yes, sir. What do you mean by manage their folders? The question is, can you manage their folders?
I can go into somebody else through my Outlook account.
Mm-hmm. Yes. So yes, the question is, can you give permissions to folders? All the functionalities with Exchange do still exist. So, for example, you as an owner of a mailbox, you can choose to give permission to whoever you want or not to whoever you want. As an administrator, the way you would have to do that is you would have to have owner permissions of everybody's mailbox that you wanted to be able to do that with. Outside of, that's just the way that would have to happen. Now, there is ways from Outlook where you can share folders, share calendars, share with actual other users that doesn't require administrative access. But there is obviously ways on the administrator side where you can give people full access and they won't have to do anything. Yes, sir.
So when would a company, unless it was because of compliance and such, would they ever choose some kind of based on Office as opposed to 365?
What do you mean by?
So subscription license based.
So you're saying a full, I want to buy an Exchange server, I want to buy the hardware, the VM, and I want to license the cows and all that good stuff?
Yeah. Is it more so a price thing or what's the driver there?
So most of the time, to be honest with you guys, we have moved one customer back from Office 365. The reason is they wanted to do some crazy thing where they managed one contact list and they had everybody in their company connect to this one contact list. They wanted to be able for the numbers to come up on their cell phones whenever it rang, so it had to be an actual mailbox. Okay, so it's very unique. So we were able to give that to them by providing them a shared mailbox. But what happened is when you got to that 10 device limit, because it only allows, let me rephrase that, it used to only allow to connect 10 devices to a single account. It shut off. They weren't able to do what they wanted to do. They wanted to come back on premise because we could actually change that number of devices that you can connect to a single account. Since then, that's probably been a year and a half or so ago. Since then, Microsoft has raised that limit to some astronomical number that I don't want to make up, but it's more than anyone would ever connect, I think anyway. So that's the only reason. The other reason that we see is for compliance. Another thing that we worked with one of our customers on is that they want to stay on premise because 99.9% downtime was too much allowance for downtime, or uptime, 99.9% uptime was too much downtime, that 0.1%. So they weren't willing to sacrifice their email system for that 0.1%. They thought that their on-premise servers that they had were more stable than that. So, anybody else? All right, let's move to the next thing here, Christelle. Yes. Yes, so there's a couple of archiving options. There's an advanced archiving that you can get that will do advanced archiving. And what I mean by advanced archiving, by default with your Office 365 Enterprise plan, you get a 50 gig mailbox, which is a lot of email. It's a ton of email. But there are people out there that run out of that space and they have to enable the advanced archiving. The advanced archiving gives you, quote, 100 gigs of space, but when you run out of that 100 gigs, you call Microsoft and they remove that limit. So you technically have an unlimited archive space. There's a lot of stuff that you can do with custom rules and archiving policies that you can do that will automatically archive to the Exchange Online. And the good thing about the archiving is most of the time now we see people archiving with on-prem, they're all archiving to a local PST file. So if their computer crashes, if they're not at the office, they no longer have access to that PST. Christelle, click back on Outlook. Let's see if this demo account has, so scroll down to the bottom there. Oh, that's all the way at the bottom. So it would show you here the name of the user's mailbox, online archive. So no matter where you are, you have access to that online archive. So that's the archiving feature is a good thing to kind of point out there. So, all right, Christelle, let's flip back to there. Yeah. Calendar, people is the same thing as your contacts. OneDrive. Anybody familiar with OneDrive? Anybody use it? Love it? Hate it? Understand it completely? Yeah. Microsoft's done another amazing job with OneDrive. They keep you completely confused because nobody knows whether they use OneDrive for business, OneDrive for personal, the OneDrive application to sync everything, and they're all different things, and they're all different. They're just different functionalities. So I'm going to give you guys the quick rundown on OneDrive. OneDrive Personal is if you create a live ID, not Microsoft Office 365, you create a Hotmail account, Xbox account, Outlook.com account. Those are all live ID accounts. These are personal OneDrive. That's where your personal OneDrive is. So, yes, sir.
Did Microsoft only use Bing when they did a Skype search, not Google?
Yeah, I don't know. Probably. So anyway, the reason I use my OneDrive personal account is to connect my PC, to connect my settings in my PC, or to connect the settings in when I used to have a Windows phone. That's what I use my OneDrive personal account for. I had it tied. I had created a OneDrive account for Eastridge.net, at my Eastridge.net. I tied it to that, and that's what I kept all those settings at. OneDrive for Business. OneDrive for Business is what comes out of Office 365. Anybody familiar with My Sites? With SharePoint? Same thing. They call it OneDrive now. So what that gives you is Microsoft just made it an unlimited amount of drive space for Office 365 OneDrive. So good luck at getting it all up there, but you do have unlimited drive space with that. Now, the technology that Microsoft uses, everybody's familiar with Dropbox, right? So you got the little Dropbox icon on the left in your File Explorer. You go to File, Save in a Word document. You see Dropbox there. You will now see that option for OneDrive. That connects your OneDrive, your OneDrive for Business account. Okay? What it does, what the actual OneDrive application does, is it is what syncs everything locally, just like Dropbox does. So you're actually saving, you're opening everything locally. When you save something to that folder, then OneDrive actually looks at what's in the cloud, what's local, makes the sync of the change. So that's what the application, how the application OneDrive actually works. Is that clear as mud now? We good? Be more than glad to talk to you guys about that offline. Also, one of our SharePoint developers actually did a really good blog article on how to use OneDrive for Business, OneDrive Personal, and the integration with this. It kind of goes into more of a deep dive on that. So if anybody wants to see that, just catch up with me afterwards. I'll get you guys the URL for that. All right. So the other good thing that you have here with the actual OneDrive is you can share stuff with other people. It could be sharing it with someone outside your organization. So if this demo tenant, or if I were in Office, if I was logged into my OneDrive account, I could share something with somebody on Gmail, Yahoo, outside the organization, and it will actually just share it. They'll be able to access it. They'll be able to do the same updates that we did together. We could collaborate on that document together, and them not have Office 365. So That's and Christelle's going through now how you would actually go through and share a document. So she's just going to put my email address in there. You can do a require sign in. They'll have to have a live account to be able to access that, to be able to register whatever. They have to have a live account for the email address she's sending it to. So that's kind of how that works. Yes, sir.
Do you use that as open directory drives and that directory are linked to that drives to that? How administratable is a business like?
You can administer it.
That in particular is, Jane leaves the company, Jane has our stuff on her drive.
Right.
I want that stuff, not her.
Okay. So that's a great point. So that's kind of going back to the difference between OneDrive Personal and OneDrive Business, right? OneDrive Business, you cut her off. You disable her account. You disable her license. She cannot log in. If she has the documents locally cached, she will be able to have access to those temporarily until the update happens. And it checks for licensing or checks for that, and then it kind of locks it out. But she won't have access. She won't be able to make any changes to that data, for sure, and that's pretty immediate. And that kind of brings me to another point of, back to the Office. You get 5 installs of Microsoft Office Professional Plus with one of the licenses. That's a great perk as an employee to give to your customer or give to your employees. So, John Doe has a PC at home. Well, here, install Office 2013. That's your option. You can have that. Log into your account, install it. It doesn't mean anything to you as a company. You're just providing that for them as a service. If they leave the company, you unlicense that user, it then becomes a read-only copy of Office. So they can't continue to use it. They can open stuff, but they won't be able to create and save. So that's a good thing. Yes, sir.
We have a client that has Office 365, and we were looking at, this is a new client we just took over, and they're wanting to, of course, back up their servers on-site and off-site. How well would OneDrive be, since they've already got OneDrive for Business, they're already paying for it, utilizing it as their on-site archive?
So that's a great concept. However, the true usability of that is not the greatest. The OneDrive application is great if you're using small amounts of data. If you try to throw a ton of data in a OneDrive location that's syncing using the OneDrive application, it's not going to like it at all. You're going to have tons of sync errors. And the way that it works, if you got 5,000 files and it gets to file number 4, and you have a sync error on number 4, it's not going to continue. It's going to stop on number 4 until you resolve that sync error. And there's a lot of stuff when you're looking at the SharePoint and the OneDrive, there's a lot of things that are file name restrictions, file length restrictions. So I encourage you guys to look at that. That's one of the things that we get a lot is, you can only have certain file types, or you have, people who put an ampersand in a file or folder name. That's not compatible. That's not going to sync. You're going to have problems with that. So if you guys are looking at that. But as far as the solution to say, let's back up our server in the cloud, I don't think it's very practical. The application is not there yet. There's a lot of other utilities out there that work better, but it's a great concept since you're already paying for it. But it's just not quite there yet. So, all right. So we shared our document, and I guess you guys saw. You click on New right here. This is what, if you guys see anything called Office Web Apps, right? So we're in our kind of at our SharePoint, My Site, OneDrive site. I do not have to have Office installed. Like I said, this computer doesn't have Office on it. I can create Word, Excel, PowerPoint, OneNote, and what's the last one? Excel Survey. I've not seen that. It must be new. But you can create these from here. It automatically saves them in the correct folder, and then you can make the changes or share or do whatever you want to from there. That's part of the power of the web apps is that if you're in your Outlook or if you're in your SharePoint or you're in your My Site, you have access to the web apps that you can access online. If I took my document that I had, my PowerPoint, and I downloaded it to the local PC, it's going to look for PowerPoint on my local PC to be able to administer that PowerPoint presentation. I didn't have it, so I just left it in my Outlook web app, and it opened right up and said Start Slideshow. So it gave me the ability to actually do that slideshow straight from there. So, all right, what's next, Christelle? So Microsoft's added a few new things here recently within the past few months. I'll be honest with you, I have not done a lot with them. But you have to see where it says Delve here in video. I have not done anything with video yet, but supposedly you can come up with similar to YouTube channels and things like that you can share inside the company. That's all part of your stuff. Delve is it learns how you work. So if I click, go ahead and click on Delve and let's see what comes up here with this demo. Yeah, so we haven't really done any work in the demo tenant, so it's not really going to give us anything. But what's going to do is it's going to come up here. If I logged into my account and I went to Delve, it's going to show me all the people that I've worked with on documents via email, via SharePoint, via My Site, or OneDrive. So it's going to show me in one place the people that I've worked with, those documents, and I don't have to go searching for them. If I know I worked yesterday with Christelle on a document, I can go there and I'll see that document listed right there under Delve. It supposedly learns how you work and helps you optimize your stuff going forward and how you work going forward. Yeah, let's check. Is now a good time for a break? I know we wanted to work in a break. You guys want to take a quick break real quick? The second half of this that I want to kind of look at is, let me see if I can get my presentation back up here. Sorry, we skipped through a lot of this stuff. All right, so was just informed that you guys are going to do we're going to give it away with the end with the other stuff, but we're still going to select from that. But please still go ahead and put your business cards in our thing in the back. So what I want to talk about for you guys now is how do we get to Office 365? What is our migration? You know, that's everybody's biggest thing. How do we get there? Anybody went through an Office 365 migration? About to. All right. There's about 1 million different ways it can be done. When you're coming from different hosted solutions, depending on the type of migration you're doing, depending on the source servers and all that stuff, there's a lot of different variables. It would be impossible for me to go over a quarter of those scenarios in this entire day. But for the most part, there's a couple things that I do want to mention. If you're doing like an on-premise exchange, if you have on-premise exchange, there is Microsoft has given you and provided some free migration utilities. They're part of your Office 365. They're free of charge with your tenant. And essentially what it does is it uses IMAP on the backside to transfer mail. At a designated time when you get all your mail transferred, you simply switch your MX record and get your mail up to the cloud. Simple, right? That's in the perfect world. If it works, great. Eastridge has partnered with a company called Skykick. Has anybody heard of Skykick? Skykick was some guys that used to work for Microsoft. They saw where everything was going with the cloud about 2.5 years ago. They created their own company. We love Skykick. Skykick can take almost any situation and convert the mail and enable the Outlook profiles out of the gate. So what it will do is, if you have a PST migration, if you do standard PSTs, we see this a lot with people that have like Network Solutions or GoDaddy or something. They're popping their email down locally into local PST files. To manually move that to Office 365, you've got to create your Office 365 profile connected to Exchange, and then you have to do a manual PST import. And then once that happens, local Exchange sees that it's different. It shoots those messages up to the cloud. Now, right now, I'm working on a PST migration that had a mailbox that's about 30 gig. Yeah. We started that on Thursday. It's still not done. It's still uploading mail. And it probably will for about another week. And this particular client has a 5 meg fiber up and down. So that is that's just the way that's the way it is. But Skykick really helps us with that, because what they do is they make a lot of changes in the actual application. So you go install Skykick. Skykick installs a little application, and it makes all those profile changes for you. It migrates all your quick types over. It changes the quick types to make sure that they're mapping to the correct location. It does all those things that are little, finicky things that take you forever as an administrator to fix for your users, and they're happy. They know they leave their Outlook open on Thursday. On Friday when they come in, they're still using their email. They don't really know a difference other than their email's in now a new place. Skykick is our best partner that we work with. We do have certain situations where we use BitTitan. It used to be Migration Wiz, is now BitTitan. We do have certain situations where we use those guys. For example, we had a customer last week whose Exchange server completely died. Their database would no longer mount. It was completely corrupt. We had them up and running in Office 365 by lunchtime. We spent the entire weekend, all day Thursday, all day Friday, Saturday, Sunday. We finally got their database back mounted on Sunday afternoon, and we started to use, it was too late to use Skykick at that point, but we were then able to use the Migration Wiz product to say, take this source mailbox, let's push it to the cloud. I wasn't able to do any of the profile stuff that Skykick offers, but this environment has a lot of Macs. Skykick's not compatible with Mac, but it was able to get that mail up there. Manual profile generation for everybody, but now they're in the cloud. They were thinking about the cloud. They were kind of on the fence. Should we go? Should we not go? We ended up switching them over pretty quickly and having them up and running. So those are our two biggest partners that we work with for migrations. But we really prefer Skykick over any of the other partners. Another thing that I kept getting questions about whenever we were in the back was I got some questions about security. You guys have concerns over security? Everybody has concerns over security. With Office 365, your data is actually in at least 2 Microsoft data centers. Microsoft data centers are no less than 50,000 servers. I think there are currently 4 or 5 of them in the United States. So at any one time, if any one of those data centers goes down and your data is in that data center, it automatically starts replication to another data center. So your data is always going to be in 2 places. The other thing about security that people ask about is my data safe? The easiest way that I can explain the security of your data is that Office 365 is HIPAA compliant. In my eyes, if it's medical HIPAA compliant, I feel pretty comfortable that my data is going to be safe. So, also got a few questions about, can you encrypt email? Can you encrypt some of the stuff? There's a lot of advanced features that allows you to do some pretty specific encryption for documents coming out of SharePoint and in OneDrive. And they got, there's tons of it for the actual email as well. So I can enable advanced encryption for my mailbox. And what it'll do is it'll actually, if I send you an email, it's going to say, Josh has sent you an email. Let's log into this server and go get it. So you have to create a live account with the email account that I sent the email to, and that will allow you to go up and retrieve that mail. That piece of mail never actually is delivered to your Outlook. It's just a piece of mail that says, you have an encrypted piece of mail, go to this HTML file, and it sends you there. So that's a couple of the security things that I think are really good. You know, we've gotten pretty creative with some of the encryption policies. We actually put a button in people's Outlook where you can click on it, and it's just a macro on the back end, and it says your message is now encrypted. It throws something in the header that encrypts the message, and you know, we put a transport rule in. It says if this is in the header, just encrypt it. So makes people think they're getting a big thing there. But you can do any transport rules to actually activate that security. Does anybody have any questions about encryption, security, anything like that? Yes, sir. So the question was what level of encryption is in Office 365? By default, email is transferred with opportunistic TLS. For those of you who don't know what that is, TLS is probably one of the highest email securities encryptions that is not requiring a username and password. And by opportunistic, it means it's going to send that first. It's going to say, are you TLS compatible? And if so, I'm going to transmit in TLS. If not, then I'm going to transmit in with no encryption, essentially. You can force that. I have a customer that does a lot of work with a lot of banks. The banks require TLS. So we had to go into their account and actually force TLS encryption with certain email domains. As far as the encryption key length, I don't know the answer to that question. So, question over here? Yes, sir. DLP for non-office files. That is true. So there's a couple things that you can do, and it takes some advanced configuration on the front side. But with data loss prevention and a product called, trying to think of what it's called. It'll come to me in a second. But it's included with the E3. But it's Active Directory Rights Management. That's what it's called. But essentially what you can do is you can say, I only want... you can say, I don't want, I don't want anybody connecting their OneDrive outside of our local IP address of our network. You can say, I only want Outlook to be able to be accessed on a certain iPad that will only access the Outlook web app inside that client and will not use the local client, the local mail client on that iPad. So there's a lot of things that you can do and get pretty granular with the DLP and the Active Directory Rights Management. Yes, sir. What do you mean the key to the other side? So it's all done based on your username password. So there's really not a key. And that's where the Active Directory Rights Management comes from. I'm by no means an expert on this, but I know that when you have that set up, it's based on Active Directory is one of those things. We all know what Active Directory is, right? Office 365 gives you another Active Directory. It's an online Active Directory, but they still call it Active Directory. And essentially, if that doesn't match, you don't have the key to the other side. So I'm sorry I can't be more specific than that for your question, but right. But if you're sending, you can send to when a user. Right. Well, it's essentially it's an HTML file, and what that HTML file has in it is has the access for who can access that message, and it can be someone outside your organization. So, does that answer your question, or is that still way off? Okay. All right. So yeah, I can't be more specific than that because I'm not 100% sure. Yes, sir. That's a great question too. I'm not sure how long they will set and live without being opened. I think as long as they have been opened, I think they will stay there, but I don't think they will stay there forever if they never get opened. I think they will get trashed. I'm pretty sure. But that's another one you can't hold me on because I haven't ran into that situation yet. Yeah, I'm sorry. Yes. Sure. Yep, I sure will. Anybody else have any questions about anything? So there's a couple other features on the admin side that I was going to talk about, and that's kind of identity as a whole. There's a lot of different ways that you can have identity for your company. You can have what's called your Active Directory, your online Active Directory. That's where you have essentially a name, an email address, and a password, and it's Office 365, and it's all completely Office 365. Everything's managed in Office 365, and if you're a small group, maybe that's okay. But if you're a larger business or a larger company, maybe you don't want to have two different usernames and passwords. You want to have a true single username, single password experience. There is a product that Microsoft gives you. It's called Directory Synchronization. You have to have a Server 2008 R2 or newer server. It can run on a domain controller for your smaller groups. But what it does is it takes your local Active Directory and makes a perfect copy on top of the online Active Directory. So your username that you have locally, your password you have locally, will match exactly what you have in the cloud. So it's really still two different usernames and passwords, but they just match. The local one sits on top of what's already there. And that's big. We do that for even some of our smaller customers because even if you have 5 people, nobody wants another password to remember, right? So that's what we do. Yes, ma'am. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yes. 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 The question was, and I'm going to summarize, but the question was, how, if I change my password, if I have directory synchronization, how long does it take, or will it overwrite my change of my password? And the answer is yes. By default, out of the box, the synchronization happens every 3 hours. So if you make a change or you add a user in your local Active Directory, it can take up to 3 hours to actually replicate that change. You can change that time interval, and you can force that sync. So if you have users that's having problems, I changed my password, now I can't get into my email online, there is a way you can administratively force that sync, which will kind of marry everything back up. So, and you have complete logging with that as well. So you can actually go in and see in the Identity Manager the difference, and you can see the changes for each user. So, yes? Yeah, so with this, it actually it doesn't call it SharePoint, it calls it sites. So you've got your team sites and your collaboration sites. So it is pretty much the same thing as SharePoint. As you see here, you've got the SharePoint logo here. So it is the same thing as using SharePoint. One of the things also is a question I got at the break was, can you sync a SharePoint document library using the OneDrive application? And the answer is yes, you can. So if you come to, just like we were talking about earlier, you have your Dropbox over here. You've got your OneDrive for Business. You'll actually have a little icon there that says SharePoint. So one of the things that's very important that when if you're administratively creating this, is that you want to make sure that you think about how you're going to sync the library. A lot of things that we run into is people say, well, I want to synchronize this folder, but I don't want to synchronize the other ones that are in this same library. And that's not possible. The synchronization function is on the entire library, so you cannot be granular with the folders themselves. Now, will that change? I know that we've sent requests, and there's a lot of people that have requested that feature, so it may be there one day. So but as of right now, you cannot sync individual files or folders. It's the entire library. So, does that answer your question? Okay. Anybody else have any questions on that? Yes. I'm sorry, what'd you say? Azure? Azure? Yeah, does Azure work the same way? So essentially, Office 365 Active Directory is Azure Active Directory. That is what it is. It is actually in Windows Azure. So if you have an Office 365 account with your email domain and you've got all your users in it, you already have an Azure tenant that has all your users in it. It's one and the same. So that's kind of the online Active Directory I was talking about. It's really Azure Active Directory. And if you want to manage that Active Directory, like with the directory synchronization tool, you actually have to download the Azure Active Directory PowerShell. So it is exactly the same thing. Yep. Anybody else? The last piece of identity that I'm going to talk about is something called single sign-on. Anybody heard of single sign-on? Okay. So single sign-on is not for your small companies. They're for larger companies. And the reason being is because if you look at Microsoft's recommended layout for single sign-on, it is 2 ADFS proxy servers, 2 local ADFS servers, a directory synchronization server, and then have them all load balanced between each option. So that's typically not something that you're going to see with a smaller company. Now, one thing that kind of going with the Azure that you mentioned a minute ago, we've started implementing this single sign-on using Windows Azure. So Microsoft in their Azure tenant has put this new thing in that says 5 easy clicks to single sign-on. You go through this wizard, it creates all the virtual machines that you need in Windows Azure and gets them all prepped and ready, the features added, and everything ready to go to complete the single sign-on installation. The difference between the two is that when you use single sign-on, you are actually not replacing the Active Directory in the cloud. You are actually signing on to your local Active Directory on your server. So a lot of companies think that that is more secure than using the password synchronization. Now, it does give you a few other features that you can use in the single sign-on, which I think is pretty cool. Is I can open up Internet Explorer, I can type in outlook.office365.com, and what it's going to do is it's going to look and see that I put in jsammons@eastridge.net. It's going to check and say, hey, there's a jsammons@eastridge.net logged into this computer. I'm going to use this security token to sign in. And it signs me in automatically. I don't have to put my password in. Now, that does not work with like Chrome and Firefox, but it does work with Internet Explorer to pass those credentials right through. That's another thing that users really like, but the downside is all the servers that are required to actually give that experience. So, everybody wants single sign-on, and then we have to turn around and ask them, well, do you want single sign-on or do you want single username and single password? Most people just want the single username, single password. So, is there anything else you guys have? Any questions that you guys have about, any of the migration strategies or anything specific that I can answer for you along the lines of any of the information we kind of covered today? Yes, sir. Right. The key drawback, the question is what are some of the drawbacks about trying to tackle doing an Office 365 migration yourself? I can honestly say, and I'm not saying this because, I'm here and Eastridge does this and we've seen this happen. We have done a lot of migrations, but we've also went through quite a bit of pain. We have the product is a great product, but experience is going to be the key, and being able to really know the Office 365 product inside and out, know its nuances, know its little quirks and what it can do, what it can't do, the things it will work with and won't work with, because there are a lot of those, and a lot of times when we come into, we've been brought into several Office 365 implementations where companies had done it, and they kind of had reached their end point. They couldn't make it any further, and it's just knowing all the parts and pieces. Experience is one of those things that I can honestly say really has helped, and it's kind of doing your research and understanding where you're coming from, where you're going to, and being able to know how to get there. So that's and the big key to that is using a partner. Now, I mentioned Skykick earlier. You cannot publicly go purchase Skykick. You have to be a Skykick partner in order to purchase Skykick. But using Skykick is really invaluable to us. They're an invaluable partner. I mean, they're just amazing to work with. They are. You go to their management team and say, hey, what about this? What about a data-only migration that's not going to do anything, kind of similar to the BitTitan product? And, a few months later, they have this product now that's data-only migrations. So they're a relatively small company, and their technology is amazing. They're not so big that they are too big for their technology. They still have a good grasp on that and a good size there. So, yes, sir. What if your cloud is hosted through Amazon, Citrix, or one of the other hosted services? You like your email hosted that way? So the only thing I really speak on is the actual migration piece for email. We have moved people off of all the major hosted email platforms. The trick is knowing how the clients have used their email. Are they leaving it all IMAP and leaving it on the server? Or are they downloading it because they only get a certain size mailbox, and then they're organizing and putting all their folders in place and all that? That's really where the key comes into actually moving that data for the email on that side. So Skykick does support PSTs. What they'll do is they'll go in and pull the data in, and the thing that you would have to do manually in that PST migration, they have it automated where their application will actually make that change and do it for you. There's also some stuff that you can do that we've gotten creative with in the past about splitting domains. We've done some proof of concepts where people are questioning the cloud. I had a customer that was on Network Solutions, and they said, we've got 50 people. We're kind of nervous about this whole Microsoft thing. So we want to split half of our people. We want to split 10 people off. We want to do a concept for 3 months to see if this is going to work. There are ways to do that. There are ways to split your domain. You have to get pretty creative. You have to put forwarders on, and you have to do a lot of manual configuration. But it is possible to kind of split that email domain with a single MX record. So we have done that before as well. So, yes, sir. So you're saying that if your network connection goes down, right? But probably because you have an on-premise server, right? Yeah. So the question is can you get notification emails if your internet connection goes down? Obviously, no, right? I mean, it doesn't know it can't connect to the online exchange. So now, if you did have that monitoring set up and you had like a cell phone or something connected to your cellular network, you would receive those messages that way. Even though you were. There are some third-party utilities, and the name of them, I can't remember the name of them off the top of my head, but that monitor Office 365. You pay them a monthly fee, and they will give you alerting on this server farm went down. They also have one of the things that we subscribed to was their RSS feed, and what a nightmare that was, because you got about 1 million notifications a day because some company couldn't sign in and somewhere else, and you got constant notifications on that stuff. So, but there are some more specific third-party utilities that will monitor Office 365 and your tenant specifically to be able to provide that level of monitoring for you. Yes, sir. Is there any offline functionality, especially with email? So that's a great question because I've got a great answer. Obviously, if you're in cache mode, by default, you'll be in cache mode, right, in your Outlook. As long as it's 2010 or newer. I can't remember if 2007 has it. But 2010 or newer, I know for sure has cache mode. Obviously, you're going to be able to work in that. You'll be able to send emails. They'll sit in the outbox until you leave. The good thing, one of the cool things about the Office web, the Outlook web access, is if you use it in Internet Explorer, you can actually go in and put it in an offline mode. So you can actually access the Outlook web access from Internet Explorer and have a cached copy of your email in the browser. So if it has to go retrieve something from the server, it's obviously not going to be there, but it will have the option where you can send and reply to emails, and it will just keep them queued up until you have a new Internet connection. Yes? Oh, so her question is if you have companies outside or users that are traveling users or traveling salespeople, could you use the product? Absolutely, you can. We have a customer that wanted all, and they've since made the migration completely to the cloud, but they wanted to have all of their users, and they're a factory. They had all their users and the factory on their on-premise Exchange server. They wanted all their salespeople that go throughout the United States to all be cloud users, so no matter what, they could access their email. We did have to do the single sign-on for that environment to be able to split that domain that way, but it is very, very common to have that happen that way. I honestly would recommend going completely cloud opposed to having like that split situation. It just makes it easier on the troubleshooting side if you do have problems. Yes. So, great question. The question is it similar to Google, how you have essentially a Google account, and correct me if I'm wrong, but a single Google account that will log you into all Google services, right? Or a single live account that will log you into all Microsoft. Is that correct? Yes. So single sign-on doesn't really work that way. How single sign-on works is all your Office 365 things that we've shown you today, they will all log in with that same username and password. The big difference between single sign-on and single username, single password with Active Directory synchronization is that with single sign-on, you're actually authenticating back to an on-premise domain controller. So you have to have connection back to your on-premise network. You're essentially having to expose your network publicly to where you can authenticate with that domain controller. The single username, single password is where it just takes a copy of your local Active Directory and puts it on top of what's in the Azure Active Directory, and it makes that sync, and so it's not dependent on your local Active Directory. Does that answer your question? If you want to catch up with me afterwards, I can try to explain a little bit more. Anybody else have any questions? All right. That's it for me. I'm going to let you guys go. Feel free to come back and check out. We have some Lenovo products back here. We're also have any questions that you guys have that you want to ask independently. I'll be more than glad to answer those for you. And we really appreciate it, and thank you guys much.